Hey, it's Karina Reichman, and you are listening to Comes a Time with Oteil Burbridge and Mike Fenoya. If you're digging the podcast, do these guys a favor and review and subscribe. It means a lot. Be sure to follow the pod on social media, YouTube, and if you're joining for bonus episodes and exclusive content, go to patreon.com/comesatimepod and get on the bus. And now, here's Mike and Oteil.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Comes Time. That is Mike.
And that is Oteil. We had a good one.
We have a really good one for you. Legendary bassist, my hero, Jerry Jemmott. Anybody that knows bass guitar for real knows the name Jaco Pastorius, who, when I saw him play, he was the reason. That show was the reason I decided to make a career of music. And Jaco had this one music video that he put out, and he called Jerry Jemmott to basically be the guy that would interview him. And he says on there, "Hey man, I'm just trying to play like you." You know? And Jaco wasn't lying. Jerry Jemmott played with Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, Wilson Pickett, The Rascals, Roberta Flack, B.B. King, Freddie King, Chuck Berry, Herbie Hancock, Freddie Hubbard, Errol Garner. It just got George Benson. It goes on and on
Curtis.
and on and on.
Yeah.
Like, he played with Dwayne Allman, King Curtis. It's just, the guy is, you've heard him. You know Jerry Jemmott. If you heard certain songs,
If
you'll
you've
be
listened
like,
to
"Oh
music."
yeah, I know that." If you've listened to music in America in the last 50 or 60 years,
Yeah.
you know Jerry Jammott's playing, and he's just an incredible guy. And what a thrill and an honor to have him, to have that living history, and his emotional availability to.
Yeah, that's
really
the big
special
one. This was one of those episodes where literally, like, the first 5 minutes of the episode, it's like, wait a minute, like, how's a movie not been made about you? Number one. And number two, like, we're probably not going to talk a lot about music during this chat, you know? And it was, I mean, just the beginnings of his childhood and his life and his existence and the things he had to overcome physically and emotionally and
Yes.
mentally, and how early he started again. Just, yeah, there's so many wild tangents that we could have, but we'll have him back as always, you know. Like, this brings me back to the early, the earliest of episodes. That comes a time where we're just like, can you please come back again and talk more, you know? So he'll be back soon for sure. Yes. To catch the things we hadn't, but you guys are going to love this. And
Yeah,
just a captivating spirit.
Yeah. Check out this thing. We didn't really talk about it afterwards, and I meant to, but I'm glad to get the chance to say it up front, because there's a thing that recurs a little bit in the podcast, and in this podcast and in life. And what that is when you get a wound or even something that is called at the time a disability, it then forces in your process of adapting to that, like a superpower.
Yeah.
Like, bats can't see, but they can hear this echolocation thing. It's like insane.
Yeah.
So a lot of his life was like that. These really bad traumatic things, physical injuries that happened to him, that he just developed superpowers to, like, compensate for it. So it just goes to show you, like, you know, it seems like it could be bad, or it is, but then on the other end, this magic thing balances it out somehow.
Yep, absolutely. That's so true. You guys are going to love this one. Thank you, Jerry, for joining us. And thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. You were here on Pantheon Podcast Network. You can check out all of our podcasts and all the other great podcasts they have on pantheonpodcast.com. Like Comes a Time, subscribe, share, review. All those things mean a lot. And if you want more, head over to patreon.com/comesatimepod for a bonus episode each week, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we got a lot of fun stuff in the hopper. So thank you, and stick around for this great chat with Jerry, and we'll see you on the flip. Peace out.
Man, you look great,
So,
man.
You look great too, man. How are you feeling today?
I feel, man, it's a fantastic day. It's a universal 9-day, so everything is coming to a culmination. These things are just killing today. I mean, this whole month has been great. In fact, life has been great with everything in it.
What's a universal 9-day? Can you tell those who don't know?
It's the numerology. 9 is culmination.
Okay.
And your numerology, you reduce every number to a single digit. Unless it's a master number, then you leave it as it is. If you arrive at a master number after deducing a number, you might consider leaving that as a master number, or you might reduce it. And it depends upon your life and your personality, what you might vibrate to the single digit or the master number. It's potential basically, but universally 9 is a culmination of everything. So here we are.
That's very interesting. August 9th. This is the last day of the days between. Jerry Garcia died on the 9th, and that's a culmination number. That's very interesting. That's yeah.
The day of number of completion.
Wow.
Completion, exactly.
369.
Culmination, completion.
That's super interesting.
I thought about it a long time. Like, why is it the number of completion? And just on a basic logic level, the thought that came to me was that because it starts over after that. It's 10, but it's 1 again.
Right.
Exactly. And 10 is a high vibration of 1.
So is 19 a completion number as well? Is it anything with the 9?
That's gonna be. It's funny when you put 9 with any number. It's the digit which goes with it is what it is. So it's going to be 1.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be 1.
You
So
put
29 will be 2.
It's going to come down to what the other number is. That's how the 9 is completion. That's it.
So 99 is a serious day.
That's a 9-day.
Yeah.
18, 9.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, 18 too. Wow. Okay.
81, 9. I mean, you can listen. I discovered this when King Curtis died. I started getting into the occult, and astrology.
Yeah. Tell them what happened, because that was my first question. Because we always come back to people that have had anomalous experiences, whether they're, seeing a near-death experience, seeing an alien, whatever. So tell everybody what happened when King Curtis died, because this is amazing.
Well, it has to begin with. I have to go back before that. I left the Christian church when I was 12, and I knew something was out. I didn't know what was out there, but I believed in like cause and effect. What you do matters, basically. The golden rule.
Yes.
Do unto others as you would do unto yourself. So that's where I went by that. And when King Curtis got killed on August 13th, 1971, his manager called me. His valet called me, Norman Duggar. And he told me exactly what happened, blow for blow. And I was so upset. I felt guilty because I could have maybe had said something to him to have him change his ways, blah, blah, way he reacted to people. But anyway, he was protecting his property. But then bottom line is he got killed. And the next day, he appears in my apartment hovering above my kitchen cabinets. At that point, I got religion. I said, there's something else out here that I need to know about.
Yeah. That'll do it, I think, huh?
That'll do it.
So I started looking, the searching. And people started coming into my life that knew something about the occult and things. And Richard Davis, well, what happened was that 16 months later, I was in a terrible car crash, near fatal, and I was out of it. This was December 12th of 72. And in around the fall of 73, because actually, Christmas 72 leads into 73. So somewhere in 73, Richard Davis says, "Hey, Jerry, you're not right. I know you, bro. We used to celebrate our birthdays together." He says, "Try checking out Nam Myoho Renge Kyo." And that was it. I started chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and everything has been, it's been up and down. I've had my issues here and there, but it's been my stabilizing force for the last 50 years, basically.
And 7 + 2 is 9. So it was a completion year.
Right there, you go.
I'm on
It was
board.
and I was 27 then, also.
9.
That was like,
Dude, I was just doing all the numbers that you were talking about because the accident added up to a 3. What was the date on that one? I was like, uh-oh.
December
70.
12th. That's a 3. Revolution. You know,
Man.
December 12th.
those odd numbers are dangerous numbers. Yeah, watch out on 5. You watch out for accidents. On 7, you look for spirituality to take place, and 9 is completion of everything that you've done. Everything.
See, 7. That's my life. My life number is 7.
Yeah, like,
so that's why
challenge. The challenge of dealing with that life number of any number. You know, it's I'm in my harvest cycle now, but I'm just as productive as I was when I was in my formative cycle, or trying to be. You know, I got things I want to do that need to be done, things that need to be completed.
What's
you
the number?
did quite a lot back then.
Yeah.
You did what?
I said you did quite a lot back then. You were a busy man. Like, I was listening to an interview that you did, and you were playing, recording, doing something, and the guy interviewed you said, and how old were you then? You said, oh, I was 14 then. I was like, my God, you were doing that much then? Like,
that was with the Mixed Birds. We recorded some stuff with Alfie Wade. That was like, you know, my first recording session. I was 12 with the All Bronx Junior High School Orchestra. And that set me off because you couldn't hit the basses on the recording. And so I promised myself, I got to work harder. I got to work harder. And before you know it, this is like in the summertime. In the fall, I'm playing with some kids at a club at an open forum rehearsal space with 3 bands playing at the same time, acoustically. And some men heard me playing, and they wanted to have me join their band.
Wow.
Well, I'm only 12. He's like, you have to ask my mother. So they drove me home, and they asked my mother, these people want to do this? I said, sure. And that was it.
Wow, times have
I've been working
changed.
since junior high school, basically. But a lot of guys started 12 years old. I think Makiti started at 12. The 2 brothers, oh man, they played with 2 magnificent bass players, 2 brothers. Anyway, they started at 12. So it's not uncommon for older guys to see talent in younger musicians and pull them along.
Right.
I mean, this goes historically through jazz and blues throughout time. So I'm just lucky to be selected, basically.
When did you start playing? When I was
11.
Oh, wow. When you were 11. So that literally happened in a year. Oh my God.
Well, you know,
I see that. I was.
Go ahead.
I was telling my wife yesterday. I said we think these things are very rare, and they are. You know, they're still relatively rare. Like I saw this happen with Derek Trucks when I saw him at 11 and 11, 12. So I mean, he only been playing for a couple of years since he was 9, but he's extremely good already. Yeah. And you're like that. You started at 11, and at 12, 30-year-olds hired you. And then you're like, you know, just going on from, like, some people just have that gift where they could get that good in a year. That's crazy. But I believe in magic, so I don't have a problem with it. It's the people that don't believe in magic. I'm like, well, what about Jerry Jemmott started playing at 11, and by 12, he was already off and running. By 14, he's recording in recording studios. You know, the first time I got into a recording studio, I don't know how I was. It wasn't no 14. It was long.
Well, you know, in the good fortune, good karma. I mean, if you read my book, you realize I wasn't that good. Believe me. And I've come to
now. I will have to argue with you on that one.
Yeah. I know most people do, but you have to realize what makes somebody good it doesn't come down to technique. It doesn't come down to knowledge. It doesn't come down to skill. I think those are components, but my biggest driving force was passion.
Yeah.
I was playing out of desperation. And I can understand, and looking back now, after writing my memoirs, I mean, it's a trip to go back and try to remember things I tried to forget, basically. And it made me realize exactly, to a great degree, what was going on and why people are so attracted to my music. To me, I'm struggling. And I was struggling, so it's almost like looking at somebody. I'm catching your attention because I'm drowning. I'm trying to hold on to get a life grab. So that's going to capture. That's going to catch your eye. You see somebody out there drowning in the sea, and you really can't help them, but you can't help but watch them. So this is the kind of energy I bring to the music. I realized that. I was struggling. It was very hard for me to play music. I couldn't hear. I couldn't remember. I was easily distracted. And I still have a lot of those same issues I've learned to overcome with knowledge, skill, and technique. But the main thing was having that passion to even the commitment to go for it. I had no choice. I had no life before the age of 9 when I got hit by a car. When I came out of the car accident, first car accident, the bass sounded different to me. I've been hearing Miles Davis Around Midnight album before that. And all of a sudden, after the accident, now it's sounding different. I'm hearing the bass, and I proclaimed, I want to do that. First time I said that in my life. I never wanted to do anything because I had a multitude of brain injuries, falls, knocked down. I saw my best friend get hit by a car the year before. I wonder if I'm going to be next. It was that serious with people having accidents in that particular era, and that woke me up, so to speak. It gave me a life. I had a reason to live at that point. I had no other dreams, no ambition, nothing I wanted to do before that until I wanted to say, I want to do that. And my mother said, wow, he wants to do something. She got me a tape recorder so I could listen to music. She couldn't afford to buy me a bass at the time, but I got a little tape recorder. I record all the jazz stations, record the music. And finally, when I got to junior high school, I got a bass and a teacher. And then that's how I started. And it's in the book.
So let me ask you.
We got to
Let me ask you something. So you're saying the first accident you had at 9 years old, it altered your hearing, and that helped you key into the bass?
No, it actually, I had many accidents before that, but that was a big one at 9. I had started having head injuries from the age of 3, basically.
Wow.
Whoa.
And that 9 was the big one.
Like what?
And that music, and I never could hear. So even before that, I remember the first time I picked up a telephone, I had to pick up with my right hand, being right-handed, but I couldn't hear anything. It was my left hand. So I've been doing that all my life. That was my first sign that something is off. I still can't hear my right hand. It was back then, before I even got into the car accident. So I've had, like I say, once you get one TBI, you're gonna get another one and another one and another one. It's historic. There's no mystery here. I met people. I tell my story to them. Oh yeah, that blah 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 blah. We all have stuff going on. We try to hide our issues that we have, mental issues, mental health issues, whatever you want to call it. We tend to hide these things.
Absolutely,
that's human nature. Yep. You don't want to be exposed.
And then once you open it up and you realize the world isn't gonna, like punish you or chastise you. Instead, you're gonna hear from the people who needed to hear what you had to say. You realize all along I should have been doing this. All along I should have been talking. And it's so freeing, and it gives you a new purpose.
It's very freeing. It's very freeing. It was hurtful, but it was freeing to go through the process.
We had a guest on.
Why,
we had a guest on who said, "Speak from the scar, not the wound," and I really like that. Because it's like I think at a certain point you kind of have to let things heal, because sometimes you could be reactionary, but if you're able to take that, give it a day, give it a week, and let it kind of gestate and all that, and then you can go, all right, I'm ready to share this, or I'm ready to talk about this, because then you're ready to be the conduit for that person who hears it to get the help that they may need.
Certainly.
all because of what, we're just opening up and talking about what we've been through. That's excellent. Yeah.
And you look at the state of the world with people going off because they held in things they've held in for so long. You get the external stimulation from somebody like Trump.
Yep.
Who's bringing stuff out of people. I mean, this is what we have to deal with as people, to deal with what's our environment and change our environment. I mean, we can go on talking forever about the environment. We look at it now, what we've done as a species to the whole planet.
It's all
really,
happening.
It's incredible, shameful,
It's
but we have
egregious.
this part of being human.
It is.
We
It is.
create.
It
we
is.
create for our own self-interest as a rule. Except a brother like Oteil here. Now he's a different kind of animal. He's someone that you can respect for the things he's done and what he represents. I've always admired your work, your commitment to music and to love and spirituality. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, man. I miss you, brother.
Well, thank you. Man, I miss you too, dude. When God, at that time, you guys sat in with the Allman Brothers, and it was you and Purdy, and Cornell Dupree was still alive at that point.
Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Smith.
Oh man, and of course, we used to play Memphis Soul Stew, so we were like, man, you think you guys could do that? You were like, yeah, I definitely do that. So I remember that when me and Warren and Derek were talking about it, I got chosen to ask Greg. And sometimes Greg didn't want to do stuff. So, you just had to catch him at the right time, the right day.
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, man, Jemmott, Dupree, and Purdy are here. What do you think about us getting them to do Memphis Soul Stew? And he goes, oh, man. And I was like, damn, what is it? How are you going to shoot that down? He goes, what in the hell are we supposed to do after that? And I was like, oh, he's like, he doesn't want to go on after you. I was like, great. So I was like, so that's a yeah? He's like, hell yeah, that's a yeah. I was like, oh, man. And man, when you guys busted into that thing, we thought, man, because Cornell wasn't in the best health. I don't think he lived much longer after that.
He did.
And man, it was like you guys were in like a time machine. Y'all might as well have been 20 years old, man. When Purdy kicked off that, oh, dude, woo! Oh my goodness! And I know that King Curtis, he's such a formative part of your life, and the ghost in your spiritual life and all that. Like, man, what a time that was. We were hanging out more then, because I think you started playing with Greg Allman right after that, right?
2 weeks after that, he called me. And you made it happen because I got your roll cases and then your amps, the old stuff.
Oh, that's right. Because
you outfitted me you outfitted me. I had everything I needed.
But see, that was God again. This is like a crazy synchronicity, because he was just starting with Greg. I had just signed with a new amp company. So I had all of my amp and the backup amps all fully in road cases, and I got no place to put it because I didn't have a big storage space back then. All that stuff just lived on the Allman Brothers truck.
Wow.
And I was like, what am I going to do with all this crap, man? I mean, I'm not calling it crap because it was bad, but it was like great stuff.
Yeah.
And Jerry was like, man, I don't have a rig big enough to go on tour. Like, Greg's doing a big tour. I was like, bro, take this entire rig.
It's already in the truck, dude. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, bro, it's already in cases. Like, just if you can make it disappear. So I think it just went straight onto Greg's truck, which might have been one of ours. I don't know.
It went to Jack Devaney's garage. That's where it went.
Who's now Father John?
Who's now Father John.
Wow. That's right.
Who I took to my temple, but when he was Jack Devaney, check him out Buddhism, and he said, I've got to be more serious about being a Catholic. That's what started him.
Oh
I
Oh
did
man.
the radio
God, love
census in
it.
New York. He said, Jerry, this is cool, but I think I better work on being a better Catholic now. See how you're serious about this, So that's what he did. Next
Wow.
thing you know, he's entering the friarhood and blah blah. Friar John, Rubber John, now Father John,
Yep.
and he was the
Now,
voice of
Father
Sirius
John, this is
FM radio.
this is a beautiful, beautiful for people. What a great tangent. Jack Devaney was a DJ. When we met him, he brought Colonel Bruce Hampton and the Aquarium Rescue Unit onto his radio show to play live.
Where was
We
he
were
out
just
of?
like Boston
Okay.
at that time,
Okay.
right? Yeah, it's Boston.
Well, he might have been, but Jersey was where he lived.
Yeah, I think that's where he's from, right?
Yeah.
Why am I thinking Boston?
But he might be working. He might have been working up the east. The East Coast, how that works.
Yeah, that's a quick run.
But he was just an absolute scholar, like Colonel Bruce level of like music and all the kind of music that I really like. He gave me a thing signed by BB King, I think for my birthday, because I was born in '64. And so he's like just a music expert. And then all of a sudden, one day he goes, "I'm leaving radio and music, and I'm going into the priesthood." I was like, what? And like all of that is because of somebody that actually played probably on that very record with BB King, Jerry Jemmott, because you took him to temple. And he said, "I got to work on being a better Catholic." And boy, did he do it. Boy, did he do it.
Like
he was bedside. He was bedside for so many like terminal people during the pandemic.
Yes.
Like,
oh, no kidding, really?
Super strong commitment. Super. Dude, to become a priest, like all you got to go through, like it's a lot, man.
9 years.
Wow.
And that's because this experience he had with you. See, spirituality just is like, it's beautiful. It just gets you in touch with whatever your quest is, whatever your path. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you do it, attend to your spirit.
Gotta make it happen.
We gotta make it happen.
Make it happen. That's the name of Jerry's book. So y'all get it, because man, boy, I mean, you made it happen with one ear. He's deaf in one ear before he even started. And you're like the dopest bass player. How can you say with no skill? I get that whole thing, because Colonel Bruce was like, you don't need knowledge, you don't need skill, you need that intention. What you called that desperation. He said it's like having a gun in your face. He said that people will feel. But I think you do have the skill and the ears, even though you have one ear. Like, your ear is great, dude.
Well, my ear is based upon really, I've always knew what it should feel like. I was my expertise lies in being able to identify a groove immediately, to recognize what should be played immediately. On most issues. Sometimes I would be in a recording studio, they have it write a chart out for me, and I'd be playing the chart, but it's not any feeling right. And they play the playback. I go outside the studio in the hallway and hear it coming through the wall, and I listen to it. I say, "Oh, now I know what to play."
Oh, wow. Maybe you're too close to it at times. Yeah.
Sometimes there's too much overload to actually be able to pick out the part that's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And it's usually something very simple. So I learned that technique in recording. If I can't come to a good idea, I'll go outside and listen to the playback from another room and just hear the very essence of what it is, the overall thing, and then I'll be able to pick out my part. Yeah. That's because I'm being easily distracted. I'm hearing everything. I'm hearing string parts. I'm hearing horn parts. I mean, if there's no horns in this, even if it's a rhythm section thing, I'm hearing a lot of stuff. I grew up playing a string bass, and I played a lot of classical music. And then I was playing pizzicato, playing jazz. So that's where I got any kind of technique I have comes from playing upright bass, basically. And reading music came from having to play in orchestras. So I was kind of well equipped that way, but man, I couldn't hear worth shit. I couldn't tell B flat from B natural.
You were talking about when, being in the studio, and you sometimes have to go out in the hallway and you hear it through the wall and you're like, oh, now I know what to play. And you are hearing all of this stuff, like your brain, you're basically saying like And I get that. I think I relate to what you're saying, where it's like just constant, just a wheel of everything's happening in there. At what point do you learn to just kind of like get out of your own way and trust your intuition? Because I feel like that's a huge thing with performers, where even with stand-up, I find it like if I try to go in and force the material or force an energy, it's uncomfortable and it's awkward and it never comes out right. But once you learn, hey, this is, adapt and react kind of thing, and just trust what you know. How important was that for you? And then, and where did you kind of pick that up along the way?
Well, that was, you're talking about really, sounds like you're talking about like this. I had an innate ability to know. And when I didn't know, I had to resort to like basic skill, basically, basic technique, and to get me to a place where I could still, not be the driving force, so to speak, but just be there.
Yeah.
So I realized the whole thing didn't rest on my shoulders. Although in my mind, everything did, I gotta make this work. I mean, and sometimes it's like you don't gotta play all that, or you gotta play, you play less. I find myself playing less and listen more, and see where playing little would be just as effective as playing more.
Yeah.
So each situation was slightly different. I mean, it got to the point where I would sometimes I found myself being drained of ideas, where I couldn't come up with anything. I said, "Wow, it's a hard ass job here, man. I have to create something different every time I show in." Because I made it hard for myself, because I had to create where you're not gonna play the same thing twice. The thing, King Curtis was the one who got me to play "Hold It Right There," because I went from one chorus, I play one thing, second chorus something else, third chorus. I mean, I come up with a different idea for each chorus. So I learned to simplify and just play maybe pickups, leaders, and fills during the choruses, the subsequent choruses. So things like that. So sometimes I felt drained of ideas, and I thought, okay, I would play like, I'm going to play today, I'm going to play everything, as many notes as possible. Everything. I'm going to try to play as much as possible. The next day I play as few notes as possible, just to give myself that creative, push to make it work with playing less, and then make it work with playing a lot of stuff.
Right.
It's what it's something that we do, I guess, to engage ourselves, to motivate ourselves at some point when you need motivation. You look for things like that. I remember days like that. Fortunately, I could read, so a lot of my dates required reading, so I didn't have to even go that way.
Right.
Which was cool.
Yeah. I think it's interesting when you have to learn to just trust the tackiness in your brain and let the bullshit go, and whatever sticks, know that it's stuck for a reason. Mm-hmm. And that's the flow. That's the part that's fun.
Right. Let's go. Let it go.
Well, you bring up something that I always mention to people, which is that when you're in the studio and you're doing someone else's tune, and they give you this groove, and they may have a part written out already, but it's not like you say, you're like, this doesn't feel right, and you go outside and you just hear maybe the bass drum, you hear something, you're like, oh, this is what I need to play, and then you change it. Everybody in the studio is like, oh yeah, I like that a lot better. But then you don't get any writing credit for like doing it. Like you come with all these great bass lines for a whole album's worth of like bass lines for somebody that are all killer, and it's stuff that they never thought of, but they don't give you any writing credit for it. And it's like, it's kind of tough, but in another way, that's what gets you called more. I mean, I know that's why they were calling you, Jerry, because they're like, yeah, he's going to come up with the dopest bass line and make my song great.
Yeah,
But you think like a composer,
Yes, I do. I really do. In fact, I tell that story in the book about how Jerry Wexler called me to tell me to come and asked me to come and just observe a session with Aretha. Says, you're not going to play, bring your bass anyway, just be prepared. And I said, I loved Aretha. I mean, I was good listening to her on Mort Figa, he would play her disc jockey in New York, a jazz station, when she was playing with Columbia. So I know her from there. And every time I worked in Columbia Studios, they had this big picture of her sitting at the piano. And I had to sit there and just drool. instead, instead of go, instead of listening to the playback in the studio with headphones on like I do in other studios, I would go into the control room. look at that picture. I mean, I had a deep thing for like so. This has been going on for a few years, and then they got a call from Jerry Wexler saying, "Come do a session to come observe a session with her. You might play, you might not, but I want you to be there." I said, "Oh shit! Oh, I never got a call like that before that, or one since that. It's the only call." Like so I get to the studio at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they're already working. The band from Muscle Shoals. They had Tommy Cogbill,
Wow.
Johnson, Roger Hawkins, Spooner Odom, and they playing this song, and she's singing the song, a lot of energy, blah blah blah. And I said, "Oh, they ain't happening." So they went on take after take, and 10 o'clock session ended up 1 o'clock. They still hadn't gotten anything down. At that point, Jerry said, came back from lunch. He said 2 o'clock. She says, "Go in there and see what you can do." And record a thing. I tell that story in my book, word for word. I don't know if I tell it that well now, but that's what happened in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, it's just so interesting too, because it's like Oteil's saying, you don't get that credit, right? Or you don't get that maybe extra bump in pay and stuff like that. But when you care, when you can't help but care about the quality of the finished product, you end up maybe not getting those, like, the whole, like, well, talk to my agent first and then I'll come in and fix this. You can't help but go in and fix this. Like, you're an energy problem solver.
I sat there for 3 hours in pain, man. I mean, pain, listening to them butcher what try, not a, they tried to make it into a slick R&B song, basically. They would go for something, and it wasn't about that. She was talking about, freedom and peace, and rights, and treat me right. I heard the groove at 10 o'clock in the morning with the play. So I had to sit there for 3 hours listening to them do something else. And when I played, that's what I did. And they all jumped into it.
Yeah.
Right away.
So you met Dwayne Allman in that same period, right?
I met him before that. Well, yeah, I met Dwayne through Ken Curtis. We did the Instant Groove album together. He was on that. That's where I met Dwayne. And then I didn't see him for a couple of years. Hit in and out. And then he's went in 68. They sent us both down to Muscle Shoals to record. And that's
so wait a minute. Let's back up. Let's back up. What year was Instant Groove?
60. We recorded in 68. Well, yeah, I guess it's about the same time. I think we got a Grammy for Games People Play on that same album for 69. So it was recorded, I believe it was recorded in 68. And then they started.
Wow, I was 4 years old when you met Dwayne.
What's that?
I said I was 4 years old when you met Dwayne. This is
cool. Well, you got to start somewhere.
So this was you said this was a King Curtis album? That's Instant Groove?
Yeah.
All right. I need to.
We did Instant Groove. We did Games People Play. We did Wichita Line. No, Wichita Line. I got the record on my phone here, but you can Google it and find it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, but I can't take it down. All you see is the cover. But it's out there. Everything we've done now is on YouTube. So
everything
it's accessible. It's great, to have a level playing field.
Now, being someone who goes into a room and feels the vibe and goes out in the hallway, and were there any studios in particular or any rooms in all the places that you played that stand out, that just had that instant magic when you walked in, like a Muscle Shoals, or were there any just places that stick out to you that were like, this place has it? There's just magic dripping off the walls,
Well, it's funny. It's like the when you said that, it made me. I immediately thought of the Hit Factory, because that's where I started making most of my demos, and Allegro, A1, the little studios. Studios had about a lot of studios in the Brill building. They're little funky small studios for demos. But the Hit Factory was really significant because I got my first Grammy nomination from working there. I got to work with Big Maybelle, John Lee Hooker, Carl Hall, Elmer Franklin, a lot of people I can't even remember probably, but it was great. This is one of the hippest, B.B. King. That's what we did the B.B. King stuff at the Hit Factory.
Wow.
That room is a really special, and the owner was a musician also. He played piano, Jerry Ragaboy. So we had a kind of nice relationship, and he would hire the best musicians. I mean, he'd be Wally Richardson, Billy Butler, Carl Lynch, Eric Gale, Cornell Dupree, Vincent Bell. This goes on. This Al Gorgoni. I mean, there's so many cats that everybody loved playing at the Hit Factory on 47th Street.
That's so cool. Yeah. It is weird how some rooms you just get in and right away, like comedy clubs are like that too, where you just get right in and you're like, I feel like I've been here before, you know?
Yeah.
It's just perfect. And you think about the people who have stood on that wood. Oh, it's really wild.
True.
Man, I want to ask you about one of the themes that comes up a lot on our podcast, which is mentors, and who were some of your mentors that had a really profound effect on you?
Well, the first one that comes off to my head would be King Curtis. In that sense, of course, musicians I looked up to, who I thought as my, of shining light to follow, would be Dizzy Gillespie. Whenever I met him, we did a tour. I did finally meet him years later. I was working with Jimmy Owens. We went to the State Department tour, which Dizzy always did a lot of them. So Jimmy was one of his disciples. So we got on that bandwagon. That bandwagon, but that group where we could make world tours for the State Department. And at one point, I did one with him, and we played in Paris, and we played in Africa. It was really exciting at that particular point, to be that close to him and see him work his magic. Sometimes he wouldn't play. In Paris, he just came up and just started scatting. But he was so influential in terms of his willingness to share his music with other people, to teach other musicians how to play this new form of music called bebop. So I always looked up to him, admired him. I didn't have much personal contact with anybody except I've never been asked that question though, Teal, so I never give it much thought. But the first person would come with me be King Curtis, then of course Richard Davis, who introduced me to true Buddhism, which was after that, and it's good people like you, O'Teal. That's why I call you McNasty. You inspired.
Well, that is, I think.
If you read the book, I call you McNasty, AKA, or Teal Burbridge. It's in print.
Now, I'm immortalized.
We got to make you a jersey with McNasty on the back.
And you got to listen to
I love that, though, because
there's two versions of the lyrics. And when I heard it, I go by the sound, the song itself. But then Eddie Jefferson wrote words to it. And somebody else wrote words to it, referring about a musician. And Horace Silver, when he entered the song, he talked about a guy of ill repute who's blah, blah, blah. And you got to hear both versions, the lyric version. They're both completely different character. But I was into the idea of the person being so hip and so slick, basically, which music portrayed. You hear the song, you say, God damn, that's some slick shit.
Well, Horace.
You got to hear it. Filthy McNasty, Horace Silver. Recorded live at the Village Gate, which is now a CBS.
Wow,
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how.
Are you serious?
Sideways. They used to record so much music at the Village Gate. And in the 90s, they stripped it down and became a CBS.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Sucks.
Man,
I'm down in that area. I'm in the West Village all the time doing shows, and it's just walking around that neighborhood thinking about, from Jocko playing at Washington Square Park to the Village Gate to, Cafe Fiend John and the Wah and all the rooms all around there, the Vanguard.
Yeah.
It's just like, first of all, it's an honor to even I get to perform all the time there, but I think about, man, that never escapes me, is like the people who have stood on this wood, or the people who have, eaten at this table, or the people that
Lenny Bruce.
that stuff to me is Robin Williams. I mean, I think about that a ton, but it's just wild to think about that.
Sweet Bass Clubs. Yeah.
It's really, really amazing stuff. Can is it okay? Can I back up to, in the beginning, we brushed real fast over something that I have to ask you about. You had a bunch of injuries at such a young age. And what was it like, just playing as a child type accidents, like falling down and hitting your head? Or was it like actual like car injuries? Or, I mean, I'm so interested in what all that was, what happened.
Sounds like it was all the above.
It was all of that. I mean, finally I got hit by a car. But
Finally.
You could check that one
Everything
off.
else hit. It's like a cartoon. I just picture like an anvil just dropping from the sky. Like,
I mean, it was one thing after another. My sister, in writing the book, I asked my sister some things, because I had to fill in the gaps. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And she told me exactly what happened and how she would take me to school, and I would walk into poles. I remember before that, my first fall, and I was carrying somebody on my back. We were playing a game, and we fell into a basement. That was the first time I got knocked out. The second time I was doing something similar. I said, oh shit, I was supposed to be doing this. I didn't tell anybody. So it went on from there, basically, where sometimes if nobody saw me, I wouldn't say nothing, basically. But my sister remembers taking me to school. I would walk into a pole. I remember walking to a pole twice on my way to school. This pole, I'd say, it just drive me crazy. And they finally moved it when I got to high school.
They moved it for you.
What the hell?
I was so damn relieved.
That's interesting, man.
So
the same pole kept getting you.
And I would invariably run down the steps and walk into this pole. So
they moved the pole. You going around it wasn't.
They moved the pole when I got to high school.
That's so weird.
And I was like, oh man, wow.
Thank
Don't
God.
worry about that no more. Because when you have a lot of brain, you can be paranoid. You have panic attacks.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of things that you be aware of your stability.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that quite a bit now, like they're finding with athletes and NFL football players and about that, the CTE, that frontal brain injury. But, think about it as a child.
No,
I
you
mean,
don't.
we used to.
Stuff.
No, never wore a helmet riding a bike, would always, play like tackle football and take knees to the head. And, you're running through the woods, you hit a tree. Like, I thought about that so much that.
They head up.
Yeah. It's very, very interesting.
You know what fascinates me, though? The thing that really fascinates me is that this chanting, because we talk about this a lot on the podcast. We have some psychedelic mushroom experts on, and the mushroom psychedelic and non-psychedelic help, certain ones help with neurogenesis. So it helps create new pathways in the brain and rewire through damaged ones or around damaged ones. And I'm fascinated how something like chanting could help you achieve that thing, because you're going through all these things that like football players go through. But this chanting helps you rewire your brain or stabilize it. Can you talk about that some more?
Yes, it penetrates every cell of your body. In those terms, it gives you, I mean, everybody has a different experience with it, but as far as what you're saying, I can definitely agree with it. In fact, just the other day, I was watching Netflix. They have a series called Human.
Love it. I saw it.
within.
So
And
good.
it's exactly. So I was able to realize that when I'm chanting, I was actually seeing what I saw on Netflix. Was Netflix showed me a visual description of everything that was going on, and I'm realizing I'm chanting. I'm affecting all that's going on in my system. It was just mind blowing when I made that realization that what I've been doing for the last 50 years and how it's been almost like scientifically proven now in that sense, because it's a lot of, you're sending out waves of energy and that penetrate the past, the present, and the future. It's not just like I'm chanting now. I'm chanting now, but it's affecting my past, it's affecting my future. So it's affecting my karma. So therefore, if I get opportunities in this present life to change my karma and do things, so my future is going to be better.
Yeah.
And get the opportunity to do the work to make
it. And conversely, if you think about someone who is screaming all the time or angry all the time or yelling all the time, the opposite of chanting, they're also putting that vibe into their future and their past. So it's the,
it's the intention.
Yep.
The intention behind the physical vibration.
Yep.
Whether we were talking about this at our music camp at Roots Rock Revival, we put up on the screen this thing called cymatics, where they'll put some sand on a platform that can vibrate. And when you change the tones, these different patterns happen in the sand. And you can also do it with water. And you see geometrical patterns for, B, B flat, C, D, like clear. And then you think, we're like 75% water. So those vibrations are making these patterns in us. Now, the intention behind those vibrations can also, of course, it's going to have an effect. It's like, you could call it magic. That science just doesn't, they're getting there to explain it. But right now, it's still in the magic category. We just know it works.
It's magic. It's mystic. I think mystic might be
mystic as well.
More appropriate word, because it really, in terms it covers everything, the unknown, the unexplainable.
Yeah.
You get the result, the magic result, but would be the effect, but the cause is the mystic connection. It's just incredible when you have a connection with the Force. That's what I loved about Star Wars. When I saw Star Wars the first time, I said, "Yeah, there it is."
Yeah, me too.
The Force,
That's right.
Like, this was it for me. I said, "Wow, somebody actually put it together and made a physical thing other than the Gohunzin." I mean, a movie about the Force,
Yeah. They made it palpable. They made it
they made it palpable. Exactly. I was so happy to see that. And it's just like I went to see Star Wars 5 times. I took all my nieces, my kids with me. It was deep.
I still see it. I still watch it. I watch it with my kids now. We watch the cartoon because it's like, look, you have magical powers.
Yeah,
you can use them for good or evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure, because whatever you do, that's what's going to come back. So, the emperor, that's why he looks so jacked up. You got to pay that tab.
Yeah.
You're going to look real ugly in the face. And I see it with real people. I can see it with real people. You look like the guys that are doing the horrible stuff with hedge funds and the financial. You look at them in the face and it's like, ooh, the emperor, dude.
The puffy eyes.
You're paying your time. Yeah.
Swollen
I'd be like, Dad, get away from me. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, it's so true too, like you were saying about with the chanting and the reciting and that energy and stuff. I've been lucky enough. I've been doing transcendental meditation for probably, around almost a decade now, but I went to a group meditation and there was a veteran who had very bad tremors, like almost nonstop tremors. And it was from events that happened when he was at war. And when he got into the group meditation and everyone was reciting their mantras, there were no tremors. It was literally like the 20-minute periods of the day that he did not have that physical reaction to the PTSD. And this was the only thing that could help him.
Stuttering.
Yeah. Just to be able to meditate and recite that mantra and to chant, and everyone's in the group. And he said the best, feelings were when he was in that group setting. And
Wonderful.
everyone was in that mind state and that energy and at that level of consciousness where you're below the, tumultuous current that life is. It was just incredible to see. And it was literally, we all were like blown away, and he just had tears streaming down his face. It was really, really wild.
Yeah, environment makes a big difference. It can do that. We can do that for each other.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Entrainment. They call it entrainment. When we all get synced up together, when we all get synced, and you can do it. You can
That's
use
concerts.
it for evil. Cult leaders, concerts, cult leaders do it all the time. Bad religion, like, the 24-hour news cycle, cable news, entrains people. It's just like, when women, they all get on the same menstrual cycle when they live together. Like, it happens when we improvise, like when we're in a jam that's going a long time, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, we're like entrained together. We're GPS locked to each other like a school of fish.
Yeah.
And, it's such a beautiful thing when it's used positively like that, and not negatively when you got to drink some Kool-Aid at 2:00 and everybody die.
That's what they do. That's what happens. You speak things for the good or for the bad.
Yep. It's all about that intent.
That's right. Well, man, we haven't even talked to you about playing with Ray Charles, Roberta Flack, Freddie King, Chuck Berry, blah, 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 blah. So we'll have to get you back because, as often happens, we may try to talk about music, but it goes back into life and spirituality and other things. That's
the cause. This is the effect. This is what we do. We look at what makes somebody or anything what it is based upon what they really are. I always tell people if you like a particular artist, find out about their life. Your favorite bass player, your favorite horn player, what kind of life do they really have?
Yeah.
Their personal life like. And it's interesting to see the connection between you and that particular person. That I'm like that too. Wow. I look at my students and I see them and me. Me and so it's we come together not by happenstance. It's really basic the mystic law brings us all together. Either we believe it or not.
Yeah.
It's happening.
And Oteil, I bet that everyone who's listening can read about him playing with all those amazing artists in your book. Can you please tell everybody where they could find your book and what it's called?
Exclusively on Amazon.
It's called Make It Happen.
It's called Make It Happen. It's been number one, or it was number one on July 4th. It was the number one biography, memoir of a jazz musician. And it was number one of an R&B musician. So it's like it's been making waves, and I hope to make some more wave with it. I have my Color Sound project, which I have to get going. In fact, when they saw that movie that we saw, Eric, the World Within, it was a woman who sang, who was deaf, beautiful voice, and she was painting. She would put the letters, the note names, where her throat where it vibrated because she can't hear at all. Okay, so she's singing, she can't hear. And she would look in the mirror, and where the note vibrated, she said, okay, there's a B flat over here, and there's a C over here.
Whoa.
Wow.
What?
With my system, I have colors for all those notes.
Whoa. That's
it's
amazing.
synesthesia. Yeah.
I got to find out who it is. I got to look at it again. But we learn different ways, and we overcome so-called disabilities.
Yeah.
With our passion, and for me, it was desperation. It turned into passion after desperation, but it's something that we all have within us, the ability to tap into.
Right.
We should be doing that. And your show is really what is the name? Come a time.
Comes a time.
Comes a time. Yeah.
It's really so apropos for what you're doing. And for what really takes place, it comes a time when you have to get it together. You have to start with throw out the bad, bring in the good. Wake up, smell the
Comes the
coffee.
time to get it together.
I pretty much think that's the new soundbite for the beginning of our episodes right there.
It comes the time to get it together,
It's
baby.
time to get it
Yeah.
together. That's this season right now. But God, it's such an honor to chat with you. Would you come back on and chat with us more?
Man, that'd be my pleasure, man. You guys are really cool in this thing. OTL, man. I can't. There's much of love for this brother, man. If he told me to jam the whatever, I'm in.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you, man. Because I tell you what, I've been studying your stuff. We're doing some Aretha Franklin with the singer, Alfreda Gerald. We have some gigs coming up, and it's all of your bass lines. I'm just like, man, Jerry. I was like, I need to call Jerry and get him on this podcast. What you been thinking, O'Teal? All this legendary stuff you play. So we'll get into all that. We'll get to all the stuff you did the next time you come on, and all the stuff we left out. Sorry, y'all, but
Sounds good.
you'll hear it, or you heard it in the intro, so you know what he did. I love you, Jerry.
Love you too, OTL. McNasty.
And love all of you Comes a Time fans. We'll see y'all next time.
Peace out, everyone.
Peace out.